Okay, so next guest I have here is Shawn Walchef of Cali BBQ Media. We just got off a great panel, a next gen marketing panel with Jeff Alexander, CEO of WowBow, and Stacey Kane, CMO of Emerging Brands. And we touched a lot on social media tactics and next gen marketing, but I want to pick your brain a little bit about that for the podcast. Sure. But to start off, Shawn's amazing. You might see him on social media. He helps restaurant brands tell their story. Can you give us a background into what led you to create Cali BBQ Media?
Sure. My name's Shawn. I own Cali BBQ in San Diego. We have 3 locations. We've been in business for 17 years, but it was 8 years ago that we started our first podcast. That podcast is called Digital Hospitality. That was the beginning of this storytelling journey, understanding that I wasn't alone as a restaurant owner. My grandfather, he taught me to stay curious, to get involved, and to ask for help. And I think podcasting was the perfect medium to go and reach out outside of my 4 walls of my restaurant and ask other business owners, marketers, sales professionals, local celebrities to come onto my show, to ask them questions that I was curious about. And that led to 5 years later, we launched our second show, Restaurant Influencers. We partnered with Entrepreneur Magazine. Toast became the title sponsor of that show. And that's when things started to really change, where we started realizing, social media isn't just a restaurant problem. It's in every business. It doesn't matter if you're a startup company, as a tech startup founder to a publicly traded company, we all need to tell stories on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. And the brands that are winning are really utilizing video to do that. And I think that's where a lot of opportunity is.
That's something I echo, and when we were planning the agenda, I said we need a social media panel, we need a panel to help operators be able to dive into video or feel confident too. Yep. We talked on our panel about some brands don't have the confidence, or they're nervous to get to social media, or they think they might need a marketing team and things like that. You touched on simple as your phone and bring it into the kitchen. Can you kind of talk about how you advise operators who might be wary of social media and putting themselves out there?
I think the best advice I can give is that when you start, you're going to look stupid, you're going to sound stupid, and it's okay, because everyone is in the same boat. In the beginning, when we first started podcasting, when we first started posting on Facebook, when we started doing Instagram Reels, it was bad. And it's still, there's times where we do videos and they don't perform well, but it's understanding that quantity plus speed plus consistency will eventually equal quality.
Yeah.
And the fear that people have is that they want something that's perfect. They see what they like other restaurant groups doing, or other tech companies doing, or other events doing. They go, well, that's what we want. And guess what? It doesn't happen like that. All the greatest creators, all the people that Mr. Beast had hundreds, thousands of videos that nobody watched, until he finally started figuring out his voice, how he cuts, how he does his hooks, how he does his thumbnails. And that's just Mr. Beast, and no one needs to be Mr. Beast. I think that's one of the biggest problems, that when people talk about social media, is that you think that you need to have thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. You don't. You need an audience of one. I need one person that watches this video that goes, Shawn, I like what you're saying, that sends me a message on LinkedIn, like, hey, I saw you on the Food on Demand podcast. I like what you were saying. That's how it happens. But I've done a lot of videos to get to that point. But when I walk around here, this is my first time at the conference, there's so many people that stop me in the hallways that I didn't even know I was connected to. And they go, Shawn, I've seen you on LinkedIn, or I listened to your podcast. And I'm honored that it is that way. But the true gift is that anybody that's watching this or listening to this, the only person that's preventing you from doing it is you. Like, you have to be okay looking stupid, sounding stupid, and then doing it again. The answer isn't, I'm going to decide to make one video. It's, how do I make 100 videos? And the quicker that you get to 100 videos, the more that you'll have a data set where you can go, oh, you see those 7 videos? Those ones did better than all these other 93. And then for the next 100, you focus on those 7, and that's how compounding interest and how you start to become a better storyteller.
Yeah, no, I love that, because some fear I hear is, oh, no one's going to watch it. And even if you put it out and you only get a few views right away, that's okay. That one person who watches matters. And of course, you get into the groove and cadence, and it'll become more easier. I think I remember you telling me about that person who ordered ribs from a certain place because they saw a video of someone cooking ribs.
Yep.
And I think that relates to what we talked about on our panel about authenticity. Show what you're doing, show how you put your heart into it, and have fun with it.
Yep.
I think is really important as well.
Yeah, I mean, I brought my wife, my son, my daughter to Las Vegas. They travel with me whenever is available, but like, they're my Walchef wolf pack, and like I put them into my videos, and it's everyone has, whether you put your family in your personal videos or your business videos, that's entirely up to you. I'm not advocating. I choose to do it, and because I do it, my kids are learning public speaking. Mm-hmm. My kids are learning how to take a photo. They're learning how to take a video. They're learning how to compose a thought in a 60-second clip. And for them, I've actually gotten feedback from their teachers saying, your son speaks well. Your daughter, she's able to articulate her thoughts clearly. These are skills that we all need. You know, the number one human fear is public speaking. People would rather be dead than to give a eulogy at a funeral. And like when it comes to talking to the camera, talking to multiple cameras, talking to a smartphone, to your point, we think everyone's watching.
Yeah.
And it becomes like Shawn as a little boy, like I don't want to get made fun of in class, so I'm not going to raise my hand. The true unlock is raise your hand, speak your mind, and you'll connect with the people that actually care. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It seems simple, but, you know, to the point of you actually have to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so you work with a lot of restaurant brands and help them, you know, with their content. Tell me about the process behind that and maybe, you know, some examples of brands you've worked with.
Sure. So for restaurant companies, like, we give away all of our secrets for free. We build in public. So if you go to our Cali BBQ Media YouTube channel, our goal is to get as many owners, operators, teams using their smartphone to tell stories. Whether that's going live, whether that's creating video, we want people to win. Most of the work that we do from a media standpoint is working with larger companies that service restaurants. So in the B2B space, because guess what? Everyone's on the internet. For me, Food on Demand has been so awesome to let us come here because I get to connect with all of these humans in real life, these significant leaders in our space that are building the best technology, the best food companies, and I get to meet them. But I also bring my media team because I know that there's a lot of people that aren't here.
Yeah.
And well, why would they want to come to Dallas next year? Well, they saw how great this was and they saw the level of talent that was here. If we have the courage to share that, then we connect with people and we build deep relationships.
Yeah, and something I wanted to also talk to you about is just the value of connecting in person or going to these industry events. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I'm biased for ours, but there's many out there. Yep. And in general, why is it so important for brands to connect with others?
I think so much magic happens in the hallways, so much magic happens from the stage. My grandfather, he taught me to stay curious, to get involved, and to ask for help. Curious people leave their restaurants. Curious people actually get on a plane, they go to a conference, and they're willing to raise their hand. And they're willing to say, hey, this is the thing that I'm struggling with. And you know, you guys had an operator's breakfast. That's a really cool thing that you're leaning into because in community, we realize that we're not alone. Like as a barbecue restaurant owner in San Diego, I'm able to talk to another catering brand in New York. And guess what? They have the same challenges that my catering team in San Diego has. And we get to share what technology you're using, what CRM are you using, how are you doing outbound, how are you building your catering list. That's magic that will not happen if I'm just in San Diego doing the same thing that I do every single week.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What's next for Cali BBQ Media? Anything coming up or you want to mention to our listeners that you're excited for?
I mean, one of the biggest things for us is like we're going really deep in restaurant technology. So we just launched a Substack series called Restaurant Technology. It's allowing me to go more short form because typically our podcasts, Digital Hospitality is about a half an hour. Restaurant Influencers typically around 45 minutes to an hour. This is more of like a 10-minute format. Rapid fire. I'm talking to restaurant owners about their tech stack. I'm talking to creators about their personal tech stack. So like we use technology every single day. Like every person wakes up next to their iPhone, goes to sleep with their iPhone, like the alarms on the clock, the apps on the phones, like email, text, all of the things all live on this device. And I want to know how are people using it. And the more that I ask the question of, you know, how did you use ChatGPT today? Instead of philosophy or, oh, you should use it. Like, no, give me a story. Tell me a story that I can relate to of how you use ChatGPT and how it actually impacted your personal life or your business life. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, some tangible, real takeaways.
Yes.
That's so important because, as you mentioned, new tech gets the buzz, but how are you actually using it, or how can I actually use it is something we try to answer, and sounds like your podcast as well.
And I think I have no problem asking stupid questions. And I think that's probably a superpower, because when we get to talk to a lot of tech founders and engineers, they're extremely smart and they're
Right.
extremely passionate. But there also gets to a point where you're speaking in a language that owners and operators are like, what did you just say? And if you confuse, you lose. So that's why we lean into story. Tell us a story, tell us how you're using it, and then from that story we can get a lesson, and then we can get a takeaway that leads to brand awareness, that leads to new business.
Yeah, and that's how people learn best from these conferences, these podcasts, because it is hard to break down exactly what the tech vendors are talking about sometimes. Sometimes you can kind of understand it, but even to me, who covers tech all the time, it's over my head sometimes.
Correct.
So I think what Food on Demand does, what you guys do, is important to tell a story in a way that makes sense and people can relate to.
If you can't remember it, or I can't remember it, and tell my team, hey, I went to this booth, or I went to this panel, what did you learn? Well, if you heard a story and then the tech solved the story, all of a sudden that's much easier for me to communicate than, they do 500 things. I don't remember one of the things that they do, but I know they do 500. That's never going to relate.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing, Shawn. Well, we are already coming up on our time for these mini podcasts I'm doing, but anything else you want to mention in general, whether that's about Food on Demand or Cali BBQ Media, or that you're excited for in the industry?
I think the most important thing is connection and community, understanding that the problems that we're solving here in Las Vegas, next year in Dallas, wherever you are in the world, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, we're not alone. All of these problems are global problems. Every year I go to Bulgaria with my wife and my son and my daughter. My wife's from Bulgaria. We go to the village, but I have the same conversations that I have in Chicago, in Dallas, and San Diego. I talk to the same business owners, restaurant owners in Bulgaria, in Vratsa.
Wow.
And they talk about delivery, they talk about takeout, they talk about their website, they talk about guest feedback, they talk about hospitality. This is a global thing that we're working on, and the only way to win is by sharing ideas. So come to conferences like this, reach out to me anytime. I'm available at Shawn P. Walchef on all the platforms. I'm weirdly available. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Of course.